All right, we are live. This is Bench Talk Live on YouTube every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. What's up, everybody? Let y'all file in. Sip of coffee to the working man. Super excited for this episode as always. Some questions that came in through Instagram the other day. Again, if it's your first time watching this podcast, listen to this show, you can drop your questions Monday on our Instagram channel at Big Benches. I post up a questions tab on our story. So that's a way you can drop your cues. Obviously, you can join us live here as well on Tuesdays on YouTube and drop your questions as well. So this episode is talk again every Tuesday, all about benching. Any topic you guys want to talk about in training, I'll talk about. So we're just shooting the shit as always. Let some more people file in, drop some cues, whatever you guys wondering about when you're training, maybe something you're struggling with, maybe something you want to know a little bit more about. So recently for me in training, I've been getting into single ply again, and it's different. It's different than multiply. I think the biggest thing is the groove doesn't change a ton. Single ply versus multi, it's really the stretch of the shirt and how you make adjustments to your shirt. And it's going to be a challenge because single ply just stretches out so much. There was a first session wearing a brand new shirt with an upgraded collar, and I mean I was already ready to touch weight by the end of it. I was going to take something to 800s, but I was ready to touch on weight. So it's going to be a challenge for 16 weeks to kind of stretch that shirt out for training, and then get a new shirt for the competition in March. The competition in March, Tiny Meeker's IPA meet, actually going to try to set the single ply world record, the 220 weight class, held currently by Greg Powell, who has an 804.5 pound bench. So I'm hoping to hit that and then move on to some multiply goals again. Leo Strang, what's up, Leo? Thanks for joining in, buddy. Best tricep upper back accessories for bench. All right, so let's start with the upper back. So now there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm just gonna give you some of the things that I personally like. Upper back, I do a lot of high row variations, whether that's with dumbbells or a seal row. And oftentimes I've been in Gold's Gym or whatever and doing machinery too, using the machines, hammer strength machines, my favorite. But everything with a horizontal grip like you would take to the bench, and then also just performing a higher row, meaning you're going to be up higher on your chest versus a traditional row where maybe your elbows about 45 from the body, getting a little more lat involvement. So really just try to isolate that upper back region by making those changes. And I also like face pulls for that as well. And we always try to keep upper back work in every training day. So that's something I do with our athletes, is just a lot of back work, a lot of upper back work primarily, because that's what's going to really key in for the bench press is that upper back strength, because that's your foundation, that's your platform, that's what you're pressing off of. So you need to really be dialed in there with not only the strength but also the technique with how you're utilizing your upper back, because again, that's the platform that you're benching off of. When it comes to the squat, the deadlift, more so it's about getting your shoulders back into a retracted position and maintaining T-spine extension, which it is for the bench as well. But that you really need to key in on that retraction element and the depression. And every time I get up off the bench, for example, you can see a big white mark right in between my scaps from how hard I'm squeezing and pinching them together. And that's what you're trying to achieve every time with the bench press. So that, and then I've been doing a lot of scap work too in training and utilizing that with our athletes. Just direct scap work, because oftentimes we just get so locked up in this retracted position. We end up doing all our rows there, that we never really get full range with the scaps, and then we end up with just the scaps locked up, and it's hard to get that retraction and depression like we would like, because we're just so locked up. So it really can hinder your bench. And what you'll find is that when you go to press, those shoulder blades want to skate out on you, and then you end up in a position like this, a little bit shrugged up, and that's you're just trying to press so much through your triceps, just not going to happen. So that's where a lot of that mid-range sticking point comes in. As for triceps, I really like anything like secondary movements that are going to be closely related to the bench press, um, as such as a close grip bench, a floor press, pin pressing variations, partial range movements with a close grip. So that's the best way probably to bring up your triceps, is to get movements in like that. But hammering it with a lot of accessories, there's no wrong or right way to hit the accessories for the triceps. I like banded tape press. I like all push downs. I like everything that you can get into your training. Really, when it comes to tricep development, it's just a lot of volume. Hit them hard, hit them frequently. Push downs aren't gonna kill you for the next session. You can really train that stuff with a lot of volume, be able to recover, and it not really affect you. So that's how I'd approach that training. Francesco Volcano, for some reasons, my close grip bench press feels stronger than my normal grip bench press. Why is this happening? So, if your close grip bench press is stronger than your normal grip bench press, then I would argue that your close grip bench press is your normal grip bench press. Because if we're defining normal grip, which I would say is your competition grip, obviously in a competition, or if you're just trying to lift the most weight in general, you're going to want to go with the strongest grip. So if your close grip's your strongest grip, then that is your comp grip. And maybe you don't go much closer to that. Maybe it's a really close grip. And why you'd be stronger there is probably because um, it puts you in a position where you can create that tightness a little bit more easily. Typically, with a closer grip, you're able to kind of touch them with your back more efficiently than if you were in a wide grip. But you have that longer eccentric portion. You're going to get a good stretch reflex out of that, and then you're going to be able to utilize your strength, which is probably your triceps. So as opposed to having to press more through the upper back and have more shoulder and chest development when you're in a wider grip. So you play to your strengths. It doesn't, just because it's a close grip doesn't mean that you can't use that as your comp grip. All right, so hopefully that helps out, my friend. There's nothing wrong there. There's nothing wrong there. Matt, what would be a good back movement to do on a squat day? So on a squat type day or a deadlift day, I try to keep back movements as relative to what we're doing, the positions that we're in. For the squat, you're looking at something like a pull down, because if you look at how you're getting tight with the squat, bar on your back, that pull down position, you have to create that depression. So that's going to be the major way we attack it for the squats, or T-spine extension if you find you round a bit, anything that's going to get you back retracted, or just doing like thoracic extensions with an SSB bar or something. So those are going to be more the back movement that we're going to see on a day like that. But it doesn't mean rows are out of the question. There'll probably be rows in there as well. So that's usually going to be the day where you're going to see, for my athletes at least, you're going to have more pull down work in on your squat day. And then as a deadlift day, I think a lot of like pullover movements, things where you lock your arms in straight position and have to utilize your lats. Pullover is a perfect way to train the back strength for deadlifts. Leo Strang, what's an example of scap work? Okay, so scap work is no different than any rows that you probably normally do. So say, let's jump on a seated cable row, or even a pull down. All right. Um, scap work, I mean, we're just doing protraction and retraction of the scap. So what that's going to look like is arms stay extended. So if we're doing a pull down, right, the scaps will glide up almost to that shrugged position, and then I'm just going to depress my scaps down. And just that movement, and oftentimes I'll do the pull downs, and then I'll just encourage a burnout just by doing the scaps. Okay, and sometimes you got to add some more weight for that for sure, but we're just training that retraction. So I use this on the T-bar row a lot, chest supported T-bar row. All I do is try to arch back into a good bench position, and I'll just do that too. So sometimes I'm just on that machine and I'm just flexing into a good bench position. I'm not actually rowing the weight up, but I'm just trying to control my scaps. And every time I do the reps too, I'm trying to think full protraction, get nice and rounded there, and then fire that back and then row. And try to segment that in that fashion so that you're actually you're getting that scapular movement as well. Not just let me lock into place and row. Okay. So hopefully that helps you out, my friend. Is speed bench overrated? I don't think so. I think it depends on the person, obviously, and what they respond to as well. Typically with a slower athlete, and what I would define as slower is you can see it with the eye. If someone is just slow moving, um, grinders, if you will, these individuals are not explosive. And from working with many athletes over the years, you can see the difference. Okay, someone like say a young youth athlete who plays football and has been fairly active their entire through being a kid, just playing a lot of sports and just being active. You can tell that they are explosive versus someone who be your typical grinder. I'll give you an example. I used to coach this woman who was a marathon runner, and she was slow in all her movements. But she didn't really play much sports growing up or anything like that. She's got into marathon running. That's all slow twitch and just endurance fibers. And to ask yourself to be explosive, that's a tough transition. So everything's just real slow, grinding. She had to really build up a lot of tension and maintain that for a long time. Speed work would benefit someone like that. Someone who's very explosive, I'll give you an example. One of our athletes on our team now, Brandon Horn, he is very, very explosive in the squat. You can just tell the reversal strength, boom, like that. We don't actually do any speed work squatting with him. All right. And just because the reason, don't really think he would benefit from something like that. So usually you can just tell if someone would be better off using speed work. It's also a great way to really deload weight. So if you have someone who going really heavy on bench, maybe a shirted athlete, right? Speed work's a great complement to that because the weight that you're handling on that day is very light, as opposed to if you tried to do something heavy that day. Now you're going heavy twice a week. A lot more discomfort, injuries, forearm pain, things like that can kind of pop up on you. So it really depends on your recovery. Usually the speed work pairs really good for shirted lifters. But again, depends on your recovery. I've actually been pretty blessed lately that I've been able to do some heavier bench work, partial range stuff, volume training, and bench heavy in the shirt in the same week. And I've been pretty good. But if your recovery isn't there, then you're probably best off doing speed work, or maybe that will just be your one bench session for the week. So I don't think it's overrated, no. I think there's a time and a place for it for sure. Accommodating resistance obviously would be huge to add to that for the power development reasons. That's been studied because you will start to decelerate a bit in that range of motion. So you're losing that training effect if you don't use bands or chains, because bands or chains load the movement as you're getting to the easier portion of it, so you can continue to accelerate through. Leo Strang, any bulking foods you like put emphasis on when putting on size? So not entirely. Usually if I'm trying to gain weight, I'm just eating more. I'm not as concerned with what I'm eating. Um, Obviously the good way to do that would be do it a little bit slower and still eat high quality foods. But it's tough. It's tough eating a lot of food on a constant basis, especially you really gotta meal prep if you want all good quality food and get a good clean bulk in there like that. You really gotta meal prep and just have that dialed in. It's a lot of eating. Feels like a second job trying to get all the food in that you need. So lately I've been focusing more on trying to drop some poundage, and with that I'd mostly just look at the timing of the food, the quality of the food, trying to manipulate carb intake so that you're not stuffing your face with rice when you're not gonna actually use that energy. Um, so just stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, if I had to have a go-to food, sushi's always part of it. I'm a big sushi guy. That's my pre-meat meal every single time. Um, I will go to the all-you-can-eat sushis and just chow down. That's definitely my go-to thing. Sip of coffee to the working man. You see, got my little pigskin mug here. Football season. Pat's got a big win last week. Big win. Oh, damn it. Spilt it on me. That's a bench cast first. Not a first for me, though. I spill things on me all the time. All right. Let's move on. This is what the beard is for. Catch you some of that. Matt, with accessory work like close grip, pin presses, incline, do you use the same bench setup in terms of your feet back arch and all that? So, yeah, secondary work, things like that. I would call it more of like a relaxed comp setup. So I would still try to get into a good position, but I kind of take a little off that a little bit. Just typically to say I'm doing feet up work, I'm just kind of packing my shoulders again. I'm not going to go through an elaborate, huge setup to get in the best position possible because I want to kind of put myself at a disadvantage with some of those moves. Because I want to take away emphasis from the lower body, the arch, the cutting the range of motion, and just put more emphasis on making it harder, longer range of motion. Really just having to key in on my back during the lift. So that's how I would explain it. It's not as a crucial part when we're doing like the close grip stuff, pin presses, and all that. Now, if it's a heavy main movement, yeah, I'm definitely going to try to get into the best position possible for sure. All right, guys, let's drop some more cues. I got some that came in through Instagram the other day. So we got a question on accessories if you struggle in the first half of the press. And what I would say to that is really make sure that your back strength is up to par. That's the first thing I look at is just the positioning element of your bench press. Is positioning good down at chest level? If so, I would look to really build up your upper back. So accessory movements for first portion of the lift, doing a lot of row holds, static row holds. I sent out an email to our email list the other day. Hopefully you guys are part of that. I sent out a good email just on some of my favorite static hold movements and how to utilize those in your training. And I'm talking about like 20-second holds, like seated band row holds and stuff like that. That's going to train your bench relative to how it works in the bench press, static position, trying to maintain position. So that's going to be a key accessory if that's what you're struggling with. The other things that will be huge is chest strength, shoulder strength. All right, you got to think of that down at chest level, especially if you're a wider grip bencher. That's going to be key. Okay. you need to develop the chest strength and the shoulder strength. And I would primarily look towards the shoulders first. I would do a lot of shoulder stability exercises. I would do things like the overhead press, see if that's a weakness for you. Dumbbells overhead. Do a lot of lateral raises, things for the side delts, rear delts, obviously. Then for chest, this is where like flies could come into an advantage here. I like jumping on the incline hammer machine time to time. Don't do it often because it's not something that I really need to worry as much about building up in the shirt and everything. But that's where I would look to aim to if you're a raw bencher and you're struggling with the first half of the press itself. Matt says, when getting a spot, should you get a strong person that may take the bar early or get a little guy so there's no chance they can't get help if you get it up and that adrenaline will help your lift? So I'll tell you here. Handoffs. I'm someone who needs a real delicate handoff. The side people for my handoffs are doing the most work. I could pretty much put anyone in the back. And that's generally the case for any three-man handoffs is the guys on the side are doing the real heavy lifting. But the thing with a handoff is you don't want to pull someone out of position. And then to go even a little bit further, like in a shoulder bench, you want to let that person feel the weight. So you got to get it out of the rack enough so that they can establish a locked out position. And you have to let them feel the weight enough so that all of a sudden that weight's not just flopping down on them. If you ever see my bench videos, you see when the side guys lift the weight up, the bar starts to curve in like a U fashion because both sides have the weight up. When it gets loaded into my hands, now that it comes down into an upside down U, right? A little slope to it, and it's loaded into my hands. If that just hit, all that weight's oscillate, and you got to think, I got the actual weight in my hands, and then the weight of just that oscillation down, which is going to make it really difficult to get that initial stabilization. The first time I had it, 900 pounds in my hands, I guess I felt that the most. Weight comes out, even though it was a great handoff, nice smooth handoff, you can feel that weight initially just kind of ride down on you, and I couldn't even hold it at lockout. Like I just started coming down, and look, I caught the tension of the shirt on the way down. But man, handoffs is such a precise thing, and not as much for raw lifting. So to your question there, Matt, I'd probably go with the stronger dude, so at least you have someone to save your ass. But really, it's not much, especially for raw bench. You don't need much. Nice, delicate little lift out. You should be doing a good deal of the work yourself, not initially, but dragging that bar out and settling it. A three-man handoff, it's just so much kind of coordination and chemistry in that. I typically give pretty shitty side handoffs with people because I'm not usually in sync with those people. I'm very, very delicate with it. Okay, where someone else might get the weight, bring it out, and kind of hold it there and dump it. Everyone needs to be on the same page, or else you get that tipsy-topsy type of handout. So it's tough. It's tough because, typically I give shitty side handoffs. But if I have the right chemistry with someone, we're both kind of delicate with getting it out, works great. Okay, works awesome. I've had pairs of people where handoffs were great. You switch up the pairing a little bit, and now we have a few issues, coordination issues. But that person that was causing that coordination issue works good with someone else. So it's a whole process. Hey, get me going on those handoffs there, Matt. Sip of coffee to you. How's everyone Black Friday shopping? I tell you what, Redcon had one of the most legendary Black Friday deals that I've ever seen. You got for spending $50, you got a lifting belt, a t-shirt, a shaker cup, and pre-workout, an exclusive pre-workout. There is no way if someone just bought $50, I imagine they're banking on people buying more because there's more Black Friday sales going on, but I can't imagine them making any money on this deal. So where I see it, the only strategy coming into play there is that maybe they're trying to raise more brand awareness. Maybe you like what you got, you want to order more, that returning customer. But man, they had to have lost out on that Black Friday. I mean, they were giving a lot away, giving a lot away. Hope you guys took advantage. Royston, I've been benching 365 for 3 reps. Just want to know why my incline bench press comparatively quite low as compared to my flat bench press. Well, it probably plays into a weakness of yours there, Royston. So, incline bench, obviously a little more range of motion. That's going to obviously make a big challenge, especially if you have a good arch on the bench press. Incline for me, too, is going to be shit poor compared to what I could do raw flat. Just because it's a totally entirely different setup process and positioning, and it's a lot more the chest and shoulders, and then triceps even to a greater degree. It just makes it more challenging. And if that's not something that you've built up, then you're going to have a hard time keeping up with the weight. Now, my measurement is more related to the overhead press. I like to do that, but incline press can also be a great measurement tool related to your bench press. So if it's a huge weak link, anything that is a glaring weak link, something that you want to build up because it's probably going to benefit you big in your bench press. You don't want any weak links. You're only strong as your weakest link. Matt, having a strong bench really helped push through the crowds and then stiff-armed a few old ladies to get some deals. That sounds like a good Black Friday, my friend. I went to the mall the other night. Went to Cheesecake Factory, one of my favorite spots. That menu is vast. I tell you what, you looking for some variation? Jesus, that Cheesecake Factory menu is off the rails. But one of my favorite places, went there, got a new fridge in this morning, so we were eating out last night because we couldn't really store anything. But got it back on the bandwagon now, trying to get some prep in and cook up something. I gotta get some steaks today, tell you that. So then we got a place to store it. Oh, we got Bergbana. What's up, my friend? Hey, I just started to go to the gym. However, I got an uneven bench press, even without weights. Do you know how I could fix that? So I imagine what you're saying there is you're uneven in terms of one side of the bar is higher than the other. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I'm taking it as. As per that, typically what I find there is that one side of your body is a bit more tight and locked up than the other, and you're not symmetrical there at all. Maybe you can't retract back very good on one side. Maybe you're pulled posterior a lot on one side versus the other, and that causes that unevenness. Something you could do very quickly to counteract that is just simply bring one hand out a little bit further than the other, so you actually take a bit of an uneven grip. Now that's just kind of a crutch. You do want to get to the root of the issue. So I would look at what may be limiting you there. Go to PT, see how your range of motion is, what you need to work on, and then hopefully that will square itself out. But the quick fix for that would be just to bring your grip out a little bit. I've also seen situations in which you just needed to bring more awareness of driving one side into the pad. I've also seen situations where this is really just if you had an injury, like a bicep tear, and you got it put back together. Sometimes it's a little bit shorter, so you can't really get a full lockout. And if someone has a good arm and a bad arm, obviously it's going to be a little topsy-turvy. So I've also seen situations where someone starts uneven, but like finishes on the chest even. So I've seen that situation as well. Yeah, one side is higher. So, yeah, I'm assuming for you, my friend, I would go just get checked out and see how mobility is, all that. See what might be locked up for you. I would do a lot of. So if you go on our YouTube channel, we have it's a more recent video, upper back warm up. That's been huge for me, getting into a good retracted position. But I would do a lot of the stuff that you see in that video, the peanut ball, rolling that on your T-spine, doing the scap pull downs and retractions, doing what I deem the big bend holds. Excuse me, just getting underneath the band and just forcing retraction. All those things are going to help tremendously, getting you in the best position possible. So that may be all it takes. Mo Ali tips to increase bench press. So that's pretty general, my friend. Not even sure where to begin with that one, actually. Tips to increase your bench press. I mean, there's a lot that we can unroll here. I think the biggest thing I could tell you, if I had to tell you anything, be the setup would be where I look to. That's the first place I'm going to analyze anyone's bench is I'm going to look at their setup. Is the bench they're benching on set up for good competition powerlifting benching? If not, what can we do to modify it? Does the athlete have traction? If not, what can we do to modify it? How's their setup process? Okay, is there something that we could be doing to get ourselves in a better position? All that stuff, because the actual bench motion itself is easy. It's easy to coach, explain. There's not much to it. Once you dial in the hard stuff, the setup, what needs to be activated, all beforehand, maintaining it throughout the takeout portion of the bench press, dialing all that in is going to be like 90% of your success. Yeah, absolutely. Bergbana, appreciate you jumping in. And guys, hey, what helps the most here is just tell a friend. Tell a friend to check us out Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Tell a friend, hey, check out this YouTube channel. I really, really appreciate when you guys share out our content here. It helps us reach more people. Greatly, greatly appreciated. So just one small favor, if you could just tell a friend, share our content out there. Much, much appreciated. Mod Haas, what's up, Mod? I know you're frequently here on the Benchcast, so I appreciate you, buddy. How often should I test my 1 rep max? I train like a powerlifter, but I don't compete. So what I've been doing with our athletes who run a conjugate style system, we are maxing out about every 4 weeks. At the end of the month, we're going to take a max. Now, this isn't always an all-time max. This could just be the way you could play it out is just maybe you work up to 93% of your 1 rep max, but you're taking a heavy single. In terms of actually truly testing 1 rep max, probably once or twice in a 16-week cycle, we would be aiming to try to hit an all-time PR. So that would be my recommendation to you. All right. And then we have like programs. There's a template available on our website, 6-week bench program. That's designed to take you through those 6 weeks, and you could test your bench at the end of that. And what I usually recommend to people who use that program, because it's highly effective. People gain about an average of 15 pounds to their bench using that program. And I just tell them, hey, recycle it again. If it worked the first time, just keep trying to get the most out of it. Recycle it again and go through it just with new numbers. Royston, as soon as I focused working hard on my back and triceps, my bench significantly increased from 315 to 365 within a month. Yeah, so you got it down, Royston. It's back and triceps. The key there is back and triceps, a lot of volume, hitting that hard, but knowing how to be in the right position, utilize your back correctly, which most lifters do not. So if you have the technique portion, obviously it takes precedence. You build strength upon good technique, you're going to see huge jumps like you had there. Okay? So I'm assuming that you're a very well technical bencher, and doing that work, especially the back work, you see pay dividends. I think a lot of athletes say they hear these tips. They hear someone like me saying, "Hey, you got to train your back, big bench." But the caveat there is you could train the shit out of your back, have a huge back. You could put what the hell is his name? The guy that would train with Branch Warren, Monster Traps, always did the back work. Johnny something, whatever. You could take a bodybuilder, biggest back ever you've ever seen, monster back development. Throw them on the bench press. They don't know how to use their back in the bench press. Then it's not going to matter. So you can hear someone like me tell you, "Hey, train back, train back." But you got to know how to use your back. And that's why I wrote that article, Elite FTS. Go there, search my name, Nick Benarakis, pull up the author, or just search big back, big bench. I'm sure it'll pop right up. That article, I not only talked about how to develop your back strength, but I also talked about how to utilize the technique correctly in order to take advantage of a strong back, because they go hand in hand. Royce, I also believe genetics play a pivotal role in your bench press, and I absolutely agree. Genetics play a pivotal role in whatever you do, let alone bench press, for sure. Probably the biggest thing, I'll tell you that. Hard work, a lot of years put in, that's going to get you far. But some people are just built for it. I wouldn't say I'm genetically blessed in terms of gaining muscle size or even power development. I'm blessed because I got short ass arms, and that helps a shit ton in the bench press. So I don't have to press very far. So I have the stature genetics going for me. I don't think I got great training to genetics, but I got the stature genetics. My structure is great for bench pressing. Not for deadlifting, but for bench pressing. So absolutely, you can get drawn a shitty hand in both those categories, and that sucks. All right, guys, we'll take a few more questions. Sip of coffee to the working man. Thanks for joining us today, guys. I appreciate everyone coming out. Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, to listen to me shoot the shit, ask some questions. Have a good time here. Sip of coffee to the working man. We're gonna have a sale coming up soon. So if you missed our Black Friday sale, I'm sorry, guys, that's done. That was a monster sale. 50% off programs, 30% off sleeves, wraps. We actually sold out of our big bench and wraps, and then also 20% off apparel. Okay, so that was an awesome sale. That'll come back around eventually. That's the biggest sale of the year, so hopefully you can jump on that next time. But anyways, we'll probably have a good sale coming up on these Terminator shirts that I just put out. This was the design created for us a while back, and really cool shirt. I'm digging it. So check out bigbenches.com. We're going to have a big sale coming up on that Terminator t-shirt. That thing's pretty badass. Check that thing out. Tell them the truth. Pause or not to pause bench press. If you're a competitive power lifter, I would pause all your benching. Only time I wouldn't pause your benching is if you're doing speed work, and or if, like, a recovery day where we're doing like a 2x20, just to get some blood flow in there. You don't need to pause, but controlled touch and go. But all the work is pause, and sometimes even long pause. So I wouldn't negotiate that. That's just on the regular. If you're not a competitive powerlifter, who really cares how you bench? So it's just kind of for you at that point. But if you're going to a competition, you want to be prepared for having to pause. That's just part of the movement at that point. We had a great question come in the other day on how to develop the lower head of the triceps. We're reading an elbow there, so right at lockout, that portion of the lift. And I gave a story back 3 years back or so and beyond. I was pushing through the 600s in the bench press, pushing up towards 700, even early 700s a bit. I had a lot of bench presses at meets where good spring off the chest, good through mid-range, but just holding the weight at the top and getting that final little lockout, very, very difficult for me to do. And I'd constantly get to the point where, all these lifts, I was faking lockout. A lot of these lifts, I was faking the lockout, I was able to get it to a certain point, just couldn't get that final elbow extension and feel comfortable holding it. So I just pushed. You just push and you push and you push and you hope you don't fall out of groove until someone calls rack. And that was kind of the scenario a lot of the time. And then started really prioritizing not a specific movement per se, but just prioritizing locking out harder on all these tricep movements. Because if you think about it, how often you just kind of half-assed in your tricep lockouts, if you're doing like a set of 20 on tricep pushdown, are you actually getting to lockout and squeezing it there? Probably not. And that's the change I made. I started making sure all the tricep movements, I would squeeze that lockout. And I would get to that full lockout. Even secondary bench movements, everything. I made sure to get to full lockout. And boy, what a difference did that make. Still to this day, past 2-3 years, and to this day, I never have issues with that final lockout. I can always pretty much get to that full extension position and comfortably hold that bar there. It has not been an issue. I deem that to the effort that I put towards locking out fully. And simple thing like that, locking out, squeezing that lock position, that's really what's going to kind of put you ahead there. So that was a great question that came in. And hopefully a valuable response for you there, my friend. We'll take a few more questions. We got coming in here. Appreciate everyone joining in. Sip of coffee to the working man. Got some cool things coming up. We're gonna be doing some sales and discounts here and special offers and things. So stay tuned, guys. We have our Sure to Bench course for any Sure to Benchers out there. You can check that out on our website, bigbenches.com, online courses. That thing is chocked, packed with all the information you need to successfully shirt bench and also raw benching as well. What is this? We got a call from Seattle during the bench cast. What's up with that? Jay Simon, hey coach, unfortunately I can only train twice a week. I'm thinking about a bi-day workout, 2 workouts a day. And the last workout on the other day, what do you think? Thanks. You guys are great. Appreciate you very much, Jay Simon. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. So if you only work out twice a day, or I'm sorry, twice a week, okay, we're just talking strictly bench press here. All right, that's plenty. That's plenty fine. Even for our bench only lifters, that's really the meat and potatoes of everything. Is this twice a week? So I wouldn't worry there. Twice a week's fine. I mean, kind of sucks if you got to squat and deadlift too. Then it gets challenging. But if you're strictly just focusing on bench for those 2 days, then you're golden there, because one of those days will be your heavier work. I'm kind of going off a conjugate style system here. That's what I've been using primarily with our athletes. We'll have that max effort work there, and then on that other day we'll have speed work or volume work or just some specific weak training. Weak point training. There's a lot of ways you can spend that second day. All right, that's why I wrote our program on our website, Second Bench Day Solution. I gave 5 different practical ways you can structure that second bench day to assist in what you're doing with that first bench day. Okay, so that program was designed that depending on what you're doing for that first bench day, what it would compare nicely with. So that's actually a pretty underrated PDF I put together there. So check that out. But there's a lot of ways you can work out that second bench day. But I'd say overall, I mean, you're in a great spot. If you can bench twice a week, golden. Now, if you're trying to work in squat or deadlift, now it gets weird, because you can't. I mean, you do your lower day, your upper day. If you're really concerned about full power, that's how I would do it. And that would leave you with 1 day benching a week, sprinkle in some accessories to help out on that lower day. Really depends on your goals, if you only have 2 days to work with. But if you're just benching, I mean, you're golden. Stevie, I see his comment popping in. Stevie strikes again. Wow, what a fresh dome, Ben. I didn't even shave this yet, but you know what? This is a exclusive here, guys. First to hear about it. I'm not feeling this anymore. All right, so I'm thinking if I put it here, that's a pretty decent look, right? Takes me back to the old days. It's gonna be weird at first, right? But hey, if we can get through it, I can grow this whole beast out again in its entirety, and I think it'd be a nice change of pace. And I'm thinking, because New Year, New You is such a big thing, I'm thinking to stream the Big Ben cut live. All right, let me know what you guys think. I'll get some the bench session before the new year. I might live stream the chopping of the hair. All right, let me know what you guys think about that. If you would tune into something like that. Steve says ZZ Top is done, and Stevie, you can come shave it, buddy. Um, bench session before New Year's. I think we'll do it for the New Year, New You. Sip of coffee to your worker man. Because I get a lot of heat for this, and I don't like how it starts to part. Because I can get it's like what is it, Judas or Moses part in the sea. I could get this thing going. It's crazy, guys, and do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. It's too much right now. All right, Matt Grudadaria. My sternum lately builds up pressure, and I have to pop for it for relief. Have you ever heard or have had this? I have not had much experience with a popping sternum. Not sure what's going on there, my friend. I don't know if that should be a cause for concern. Um, Typically, any kind of popping, as long as there's no pain associated, I don't freak out too much about that. Um, but it maybe it's just one of those weird things. I don't know. And a lot of things can pop, but again, if it's not painful, I don't worry too much about it. But I don't have any experience with a sternum pop. Tell them the truth. Training most in 7 to 8 RP range. I'd say that's a good spot to be at. Would like to get some heavier training in there. You don't want to be there all the time, obviously, but especially with like secondary movements and stuff like that. That's that territory where it's heavy enough weight to get a training effect, but not so light that you don't get anything out of it. But you don't want to be, or you don't want to be too heavy to the point where you're gonna fail either. So typically, what I tell my athletes is secondary movements treat it all as RP8, and you'll see in all our program templates as well. That's generally what I put in the notes. Each secondary movement should be about RP8 on the regular. All right, moderate to heavy, but nowhere close to failure. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap us up here soon. I gotta go buy some steakies, and I gotta cook them. All right, so we got any more questions? You could drop them in, but we're rounding this baby up. Appreciate everyone tuning in. We're gonna have a big sale on those Terminator T-shirts, so check that out. And Stevie says, Big Ben, thanks for all your help over the years, bud. If anyone here doesn't get coaching from this guy, stop wasting time. He cares and will program around you as an individual. All around awesome guy. Appreciate that, bud. Gonna get me emotional here on the bench cast. So appreciate it, buddy. And hey, everyone, appreciate y'all tuning in. All right. Every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. You pop in, shoot the shit with Coach Ben. I look forward to it. Look forward to next week. I'll see you all then.